Hey guys, it's Elle. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to be doing a spooky romance recommendation video for you. I am in the spooky cozy mode and I'm just reading all of the spooky romances. So the first book I want to talk about is Belladonna by Adalyn Grace, I think is the author's name. I always forget her name. But I recently listened to this one on audio. And y'all, I have been putting this book off for years, and I am so mad at myself for doing that because this was fantastic. One of my new favorite gothic fantasy romances. I am absolutely obsessed with this romance. It was just amazing. So our heroine, Signa, her whole life has kind of had this weird thing around her where everyone that she lives with dies, and so her whole life she keeps moving from relative to relative, and they just all keep dying. And when they die, she sees the spirit death, and they have kind of grown like a kinship over the years, and she is just so mad at him because she really blames him for why she has this like effect on people. And so she is now put with a new family member, and it's a really interesting dynamic. So she has a cousin and then another cousin, and the other cousin is actually dying. And so the wife of like the oldest cousin, who is like the dad of all of these cousins, sorry, that's like kind of confusing. But anyways, she died. And so they're trying to still figure out the suspense element of like, why did she die, and if it's related to something in the manor. And so it's a very spooky read, very atmospheric. It deals with kind of like the trauma of Signa's life so far. Like she, wants to live with someone and form a connection with her family, but just this pattern keeps happening and she doesn't know how to stop it. And so she doesn't want it to happen again to the new people that she's with. And it's a really like fast-paced fantasy romance, and there's like the romance aspect with death, like there's a connection there and some chemistry. And I just love kind of this murder mystery of her trying to figure out like who killed the mother and if what's happening with their cousin Blythe. And it's just a really interesting story, and I really have been enjoying it. I really loved it. And yeah, it's like the perfect spooky read. While this is YA, I didn't mind it, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series. And I heard that she is going to be releasing an adult fantasy romance series, so that's really exciting. But if you need a really good spooky fantasy romance, I would pick this one up. The next one on my list is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Now this one isn't as like spooky scary like Belladonna. It's more like cozy, spooky in like a paranormal sense. So our heroine, she loves her I think it's her great aunt or her aunt to death. Like she just has such a great connection with her, and so she recently passed away and she's just absolutely devastated, and her aunt gave her her old apartment, and so every year they would go on trips together and just had like the best memories. And so the heroine, when she's like living in the apartment, her aunt was like, be mindful of this paranormal thing that happens when you live in the apartment. And she's like, nah, like that won't happen. And so she ends up slipping 7 years into the past, and that's where she meets the hero. And so the hero and heroine form this connection, and he is actually staying in the apartment over the summer because they would always do their trips during the summer. And so she starts forming a connection with him, but he has 7 years in the past. And so it flips between the past and the present, of her in the present trying to find him, and she ends up finding him in the present, but she doesn't know if he'll remember her. And it's kind of this like angsty, pining romance, but with like a really fun, paranormal, unique aspect to it. And I love this romance. I remember listening to it on audio last year and just really enjoying it. I love like the aspect of her slipping in time and like trying to find him in real life, and if he still feels the same 7 years later. Like you don't know how someone feels over time, and it's just such an interesting, fun, unique story that I just absolutely adore. It's just such a fun, unique, spooky, fall vibey romance. Okay, so this is a spicy novella, The Hunter by Janika Snow. I Really love this one. It is very, very spicy, and this whole series that is in like the Hunter is In by Janika Snow revolves around different storytellings. So I'm pretty sure The Hunter is the second one, where it's like a Red Riding Hood retelling, but where the wolf is a monster, and they're all monster romances. And then the third one is a Why Choose Goldilocks retelling of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. So they're all really spicy, really fun paranormal romances. I really enjoy all of them. They're just really fun paranormal spooky reads to get you in the mood for spooky season. And then the next one I have is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I love this series. I've only read the first 2 books, which is a part of the duet for the first couple, but I just absolutely adore that duet. It is just so fantastic. So our heroine, she is the daughter of the Vampire King, but she is human, and she wants to be put in these trials to win some like contest thing. I don't really remember what like the contest revolves around, but she ends up going into the contest, and it's like these trials, kind of like Throne of Glass, if you know what I mean, like where they have to do these trials, and so all of the contestants are vampires. And so she ends up having to team up with a fellow vampire, and it's kind of like hate to love at first, and then it goes into slow burn. But she's like, you know, I am a great warrior and fighter, but I can't protect myself from vampires. So she ends up teaming up with the hero, and it's a lot of fun. It's a slower burn fantasy romance, but we get to go with the characters through the trials. So there's a lot of action and suspense, but then there's also some mystery with her dad, the Vampire King, and she's actually adopted. And I don't want to say too much, but it is such a fast-paced, fun fantasy romance with vampires and suspense, and it's so good. And I just remember devouring the series, and the second book I think is my favorite. It's really, really fantastic. So if you want like a fast-paced paranormal fantasy, it is. The world is like a little confusing at times, I feel like it is. I feel like the romance is so much better than like the fantasy world, if that makes sense. But I still like love this romance. It is just such a fun fantasy romance. So definitely pick it up. And then this is the last book I'll talk about, but The Dragons. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. I have one more. The Dragons of Ember series by Tessa Hale. I almost called her Tessa Dare. There's so many Tessas in the romance world, so sorry. But this one is a really fun Why Choose Dragon Shifter romance series. So the heroine, she is moving to start college, and on her first day, she meets one of the heroes, and he's kind of like, I smell you, like I know you're one of us. And she's like, I don't know what you mean. And so she ends up finding out that he is a dragon shifter, and he is in a, I forgot what it's called. It's like not a herd. It's like a horde, or I don't remember the word, like nest, like where there's like in this like dragon shifter world, there's these like covens. I don't know what the word is, but anyways, it doesn't matter. And so that's when the other heroes come into play. And so one of the heroes is like a billionaire. One of them is trying to reject the mate bond. And then one of them is a professor at the university. And so there's a lot of action with her parentage, because she obviously didn't know that she was a dragon shifter. And so we kind of have to figure out throughout the whole series like who her parents are or were, and like how is that related to her being a dragon shifter. And the series is super spicy, really fun. They're all really short books, so you can fly through them really fast, and the audiobook is fantastic. Each of the heroes, because they all have different POVs, which I really love, has a different narrator. So you get to experience some of your favorite narrators all in one book, which is a lot of fun. And I just love how developed each of the relationships are within this series with the guys. And it is just such a fantastic series. Really, really enjoy it. And the last book I have is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I'm currently reading this now, but I had put off reading this book for so long, but it is fantastic. I'm flying through it. I'm obsessed. So the heroine is a vampire and the hero is a werewolf, and they have to do this thing for like an alliance where they do this switch where there'll be a bride given to the werewolf that is a vampire and a bride given to the vampires that is a werewolf. So like it is this like weird like exchange thing, and so she ends up having to stay with the hero in his like pack or whatever, and it is just really interesting. And she's also trying to find her best friend who went missing, and so that's kind of also why she agreed to do it. And so she's trying to figure that out, but she is getting closer with the hero. And one of the parts in this book was, oh my god, it was like they do these like really short snippets of the hero's POV before each chapter, and I guess he like saved a piece of clothing from her and just like kept it with him to smell her scent. And I was like, that's so fair. That's so fair. And I am just really enjoying it. So there's that mystery element with her missing best friend that they're trying to find, and she's also trying to figure out learn more about like the werewolf world and how she fits into that, while she's also falling for the hero. So it's kind of like friends to lovers, but forced proximity, but opposites attract as well. It's really, really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. It's definitely putting me in the mood for spooky paranormal romances, and I am loving it. And that is the last book I wanted to chat about in this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about all of the spooky romances that I feel like if you haven't read yet, you should definitely pick up during spooky season. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.